Well, aren't you sweet and attentive?
Come to talk to old Ogren, have you? Don't know why. Nothing. I'm fine. Just, I got a hornet in my eye is all. Did you want to talk about something? Aye. Well, hello.
What's on your mind? It is...
What comes, my friend? So, full of questions, are you?
I am listening. It doesn't have better things to do. Oh, how interesting. Certainly I remember having a master. My memories of what happened to him are vague. So some belabored description is now called for, is it? Oh, very well. My former master enjoyed experimenting upon me. I remember that much. There was tinkering with spells, and then the crystals. He was very eager to alter my function, I think. Bah! I am no mage, and he did not explain himself to me, any more than it would explain itself to a sword. He possessed my control rod, and back then, it would have prevented me from doing anything he did not command me to, no matter how I might have wished to. So what happened? I am unsure. He was experimenting, and then... nothing. Oh, ho, ho. It does like to laugh, does it? But who knows? I may have such a thing. And then he was gone. I was standing where I was, in the village, and I could no longer move. The villagers came, poked and prodded me in fear, and then realized they could neither move me nor destroy me. So they simply left me. And in time I forgot I hadn't stood there all along. Oh yes, yes, very much so. For so many years I'd had to leap to that little toadstool's every command. Get this, pick up that, put it down, pick it up again. The gall! At first I'd hoped he'd simply decided to leave me there paralyzed, an acceptable trade-off. After years passed, I simply stopped caring. I think I was ready to move on. Another few years and the moss would have covered. Whatever the mage did seemed to render the control rod useless, for which I should be thankful, yes? And provided it doesn't decide to copy his experiments, not that I would allow it, it is nothing to fear from me. Much. And now it knows, and doesn't it feel better? Let us get back to the walking and...
Ah! I heard rumors that Redcliffe was once again open for... The Earl has kindly offered my son and I lodgings in exchange for supply. So Queen Nora is to marry another son of Merrick, is she? Perhaps once all this business of war is done, people can turn to a coronation and a royal wedding and think... That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow. Some folks are angry that Tern Logain was allowed to become a Grey Warden, considering what he's done. Some of the Benorn are still saying he should hang. I think most people are relieved, though. Logain is a hero who saved us from the Orlesians with King Merrick, and we'll never forget that. That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow. Take it for what it is. The dwarves have themselves a new king, I understand. What? That's what I've heard on the... I'm sure you'll be... If there's any... You and your...
I passed your test. Fate has a twisted sense of humor, it seems. I suppose you think I'm some sort of monster. More so since I survived your ritual. You keep striking at me, and I just refuse to die decently. You're a poor liar, you know. It's kind of you to say so all the same. We must settle things between us somehow or other, or neither of us will get any work done. So, what will it be? Is that punishment meant for me or for you? And just like that, we're allies. I can't imagine it's so simple. I don't know what concession you want from me, Warden. I expect my word will not satisfy you. Indeed, I'd almost forgotten that. Thank you for the reminder. I think it's time we got to the point here. What do you want from me? I can't imagine that you spared my life in the Landsmeet by accident. You have some plan in mind. Fortunate for me, then, that I've always been a man to take chances. I'm hardly blind to the irony of this situation. All of this can rightly be called my fault. Whether or not you can do better remains to be seen. But if you can make this the end, Warden, I will follow you, I swear it. I never doubted that. We should speak no more of... Thank you.
That's a wonderful thought. Well, aren't you sweet and attentive?
I suppose I shouldn't be surprised at your success. You beat me. Perhaps you can do this after all. Do you want something? I suppose I have a moment. I suppose that depends on how much of the kingdom was left by then. Once the border was secure, the army would have regrouped to push back the Darkspawn in the south. We couldn't, especially after Ostagar. It wasn't an ideal plan, but it seemed necessary at the time. In any case, there's no use discussing this. We have much work left to do. Go ahead. Nora is a good queen. She has been for 5 years now. Whatever she might think, I never took power from Honora. She may have felt threatened, but I most pointedly did not remove her from the throne. In all seriousness, Honora is formidable. You should know that by now. They always have before. Few among the nobles have ever been under any illusions as to who really held power in Denerim. Honora is strong enough to endure. She may make a few mistakes along the way, but she'll survive them. But this isn't the time to discuss such things. By all means. Eamon is a shrewd man. He'll be advising the boy. He'll do all right, I suppose. Doing all right is not the same as doing well. Your friend may get good advice from Eamon, but he's weak. All the bands know it. You can see them. A pack of wild dogs waiting for a bone. The first chance they get, they'll pry concessions out of him. They'll pick at the throne until it's only a gilded chair with no power or authority at all. Because Eamon, for all his merits, is a conservative man. He believes in tradition and inheritance, and would never see the daughter of a freeholder, however gifted, in power. I was a Tyran, but my father was a farmer, as was his father and all the generations of Muktirs that history remembers. And Celia, my wife, was a cabinet maker's daughter. Hardly a royal pedigree. This discussion profits no one. I may be wrong. I will certainly hope so. By all means. Hate doesn't describe it. I've seen painted, masked lords beat an old farmer to death with riding crops. To this day, I don't know why. Is that hate? I saw good, sensible men fight armored chevaliers with nothing. No weapons, no armies, not even hope of success to see the occupation end. Is that hate? The past is always with us. It's in our bones and our blood, and we wear it on our skin. You can think otherwise, but you'll never get far without it. Should I? How do you give up what's grown into you? In any case, there's no use discussing this. We have much work left to do. Go ahead. He was my friend. If he'd wanted to conquer the Fade, I would have led the charge. He nearly did. Merrick was never one to avoid his duty. And given his preference, he would have acknowledged his son no matter the circumstance. But he had more than his honor to think of. It would have ruined Rowan, after all. She'd be reduced to a concubine in the eyes of our neighbors, and put Kaelin's status as heir in question. So Merrick made the hard choice. Eamon offered to raise the boy, and that was that. Kings don't get the luxury of escaping politics. But we've been idle long enough. We should get moving. There are men who inspire such devotion that everyone around would lay down their lives for him. And there are men who would come and go from this world, and no one notes it. What makes them so? Your guess is as good as mine. Merrick was remarkable. That's all I can say of him. I was hunting, well, poaching, to be entirely honest, when a boy my own age came stumbling out of the woods. He was so dirty, you'd have thought he'd been dug up out of the ground. traitorous bootlickers who just murdered the Queen, though I didn't know it at the time. He was bloody, exhausted, and obviously being hunted. I offered to take him to my father's camp. Yes, I didn't find out who he was for a while, though. But I've rattled on for too long already. We should get moving. Go ahead. Anora always did have a flair for the dramatic. She could have been a bard. Anora is a politician at heart. There's one thing she knows. It's how to move people. Is that a serious question? Is there someone else you know of who could stand up to the land's meat? But enough about Anora. We ought to get moving. Go ahead. So far as anyone could tell, she was the undisputed monarch of the whole world. She'd fall, skin her knees, and command them to stop stinging. It may have worked, too. Guaran sits in between the Brazilian forest and the sea. It's far from the old Tevinter roads. The village by our keep was never even as big as Redcliffe. There were always a few children around. Charcoal burners, sons and daughters mostly, or the children of servants. They formed into noisy gangs in the courtyard for their games. But Anora never joined them. I don't know. Children are in some ways vicious animals, forming packs and defending them from outsiders. Anora was always an outsider. If you're expecting some particular insight into my daughter's character, I'm afraid I'm probably not the best source. I'm hardly impartial. I think you already know the answer to that. But this is not really the time or place to discuss my daughter. We have work to do. Go ahead. Of